This is Judge Joe Brown, and you're watching We All Be News TV, the
News-free Dixie.
News-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Good evening, boys and girls, scholars and laymen. Welcome to another wonderful infotainment, edutainment edition of The Artivist Thinks. I'm your host for the empowerment segment, Brother Ron, also known as R2C2H2, The Artivist. And I got a lot on my mind, a lot of going on in the world today, my good people, family, and I just want to share a couple of thoughts that have been brewing, marinating in my mind. I know y'all been checking out a lot of the recent videos I've been putting out there, and know that the best is yet to come. We got a lot of things I want to hit y'all with because it's so important that we tell our stories from our perspective. 2017 is the year of the risk taker, so take advantage. And also, it's the year when you tell your own story on your own terms. 2017 is the year that we all be in it. We all be in it to win it, tell our story. So let's talk about a topic that's dear to my heart. I remember on Super Bowl weekend, because Super Bowl weekend is a national holiday. Even if you don't love or like football, Super Bowl is the nation's holiday. You know what I'm saying? Hell of a day. It's a hell of a day, okay? It's a hell of a day. It's a hell of a weekend. You know, a lot of money being spent celebrating America's real national pastime, in my opinion, football. But what disturbs me is it disturbs me or perturbs me every year. Not necessarily that it causes me high blood pressure or any type of medical difficulties, but what bothers me, what irritates me on a certain level is, when that's the weekend when the people who are selected for the Hall of Fame, for the National Football League's Hall of Fame, are announced at the NFL awards show. They are announced and recognized. And what's bothering me is this vendetta that a lot of so-called journalists and experts take against certain type of players. For example, everybody who knows anything about football or about excellence know that Terrell Owens should be in the Hall of Fame. He should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's in the top 3, if not top 5, wide receivers of all time. Regardless of his attitudes or what you may think about his antics on and off the field, homeboy produced. He produced. And this is why this will be my subject for this segment. When mediocre white men try to judge superior black men. When mediocre white men try to judge superior black males, or the Hall of Fame voting process. It don't matter what Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame voting process, in particular the NFL and Major League Baseball. Now, white folks, they'll make a myth into the truth. They'll turn a lie into a fact. That's why you got Hollywood. But it's been proven. Even Major League Baseball know this. It's in Cooperstown, right? Cooperstown, the birthplace of Abner Doubleday. I believe that's his name, the so-called inventor of baseball. Now, Major League Baseball, some decades ago, they actually did an investigation into Abner Doubleday. Because there was claiming that Abner Doubleday, who was also a Union soldier in the American Civil War, was the father of the nation's pastime, baseball. What their research found was that not only was he not the inventor of baseball, but Mr. Doubleday might not ever have played a game of baseball in his life. It's all take a look. It's all online. That's research. The baseball fraud. Abner Doubleday did not invent baseball. The Major League Baseball Hall of Fame should not be in Cooperstown. So that's true. But black slaves, former enslaved Africans who escaped to Canada, black folks did invent hockey. Black folks invented hockey, y'all. So that's true. There's a book called, I believe, Black Ice that talk about how former enslaved Africans going to Canada actually invented hockey, which is a popular sport among white people. So know thyself, people. But let me just get back to Terrell Owens. He should have been the first ballot Hall of Famer. There's really no excuse why he's not in the Hall of Fame. He got the stats. He's basically in the top 10, top 5, and all the most important wide receiver categories. He's up there. And the fact, I can remember when he played in the Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles against the Patriots. The fact that the brother played on one leg and performed the way he did in the Super Bowl, how can you question his heart? The brother played on one leg. He broke his leg and played on one leg, basically, and put up phenomenal numbers. Now, Donovan McNabb, I remember when he threw up on the field, he couldn't take the pressure, whatever. I'm not knocking Donovan McNabb, but Donovan McNabb would never be in the Hall of Fame. He shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. But Terrell Owens should be in the Hall of Fame. The guy came out of University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. He didn't play for Knoxville. He didn't play for the Peyton Manning Volunteers. He played for University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. Come on, y'all. Y'all was sleeping on him. Guy's a freak of nature. Look at, physique-wise. They basically blackballed Terrell Owens. They would not even allow him to play football, just like they did Barry Bonds in baseball. Terrell had several good years, more years left in him in football. But that's how white folks do. They like the antics. They love all that publicity that T.O. was doing on the field. But they don't like, I guess he had a certain attitude. There's always the knock. Like, you got the reporters and journalists who vote for these people in these Hall of Fame processes. It's like a lot of them have gripes. They might say, well, T.O., when I tried to interview him that one time, he wouldn't grant me an interview. Just like with Barry Bonds in baseball. Barry Bonds is arguably the greatest baseball player of all time. Now, they never proved Barry Bonds used any type of performance-enhancing drugs in the court of law. They never proved that. He is not guilty because, the thing about it is, how am I guilty of using something that you didn't even know existed? Once again, how am I guilty of breaking a crime or using a substance that you did not even know existed? But then you got to understand baseball. Baseball, its legacy is built on cheating. They embrace cheating. Think about the early days of baseball when Cap Anson, one of their founding fathers, said, "Get that nigga off the field." And white folks said, "We're going to keep the nigga off the field until 1940-something. 1947, when Jackie Robinson made his actual debut, April 47, on the field, Ebbets Field up in Brooklyn for the Brooklyn Dodgers. You actually had black baseball players before Jackie Robinson. But he was the first that we could identify. I'm sure you had folks passing as white playing baseball. And it's kind of weird. This race thing is very weird. You had a woman who's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. She was an owner in the Negro Leagues. I think she owned, they call themselves either the Newark Eagles or Giants. Her name was Ephra Manley. She actually was a white woman passing for black. She's like a Rachel Dolezal, but she owned some well-respected Negro League baseball team in New Jersey. I don't know if they call themselves the Newark Eagles or Giants, but she's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. She was passing as a black woman all that time. This is before Rachel Dolezal, y'all. It's back in the 40s and stuff. So, the only white person to own a team outright in the Negro Leagues was J.L. Wilkerson, the Kansas City Monarchs. He came up with night baseball. The Kansas City Monarchs was the first baseball team to play nighttime baseball, meaning that he put lights. He put up all these big lights at the stadium so they could play nighttime baseball. He's the father of that. But also he was close friends with Branch Rickey of the Brooklyn Dodgers, the guy who was the general manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers. That's how you got the Jackie Robinson thing going. And all that was about money. It was about morals. It was about money. Because the Negro Leagues were making more money than the Major Leagues was. Black and whites preferred the Negro Leagues, the way they played baseball over the Major Leagues. So Let me get back, but baseball is built on cheating. So after Cap Anson said, get that nigga off the field, it was a so-called unwritten gentleman's agreement that white baseball owners and officials would not sign a black baseball player. They would not sign a black baseball player. That was the agreement of the owners and the officials that ran baseball. You had a guy, see, this is about baseball, right? Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis, who was a white supremacist racist of the first order, the same guy who went after Jack Johnson, the boxer who loved to bed white women. This was the same guy that found Jack Johnson guilty of bedding white women. He became the commissioner of baseball after the Black Sox scandal of 1919, where you had the Chicago White Sox. Some of the players were accused of throwing the World Series in favor of the Cincinnati Reds. So they was accused, and several members, including the great shoeless Joe Jackson, was banned for life from baseball. He became the commissioner of baseball. So he said, oh, my dead body, the Negro will play baseball with the white folk. As soon as he died, they had a new commissioner, and they brought in Jackie Robinson. So he was telling the truth. But I say all to say that baseball is built on cheating. Like, look, I talk about the Black Sox scandal. I talk about how some players, they scuff up balls, the baseballs. They also use cork in their bats to get more home runs and stuff like that. You talk about players using speed and all this other stuff to, you know what I'm saying, to get an edge. Baseball embraces cheating. That's why it's the national pastime, because America was built on cheating. You understand? It's not a crime unless you get caught. That's the mentality. It's not a crime unless you get caught. They've been gambling in baseball long before there was a Pete Rose, ever conceived. So it is what it is. But think about all those baseball records before Jackie Robinson, because baseball, when you deal with baseball is about history. You chasing history when you talk about baseball, and numbers are very important. You can think of 56. You think of 56 in baseball, you think about Joe DiMaggio's 56 consecutive game hitting streak. You think about 714, you think about the total number of home runs that Babe Ruth hit. You think about a lot of things in baseball. Numbers means a lot to baseball. You think about 2,130. There's a number of consecutive games that the Iron Horse, the legendary Lou Gehrig of New York Yankees, played. You think about Barry Lamar Bonds and the numbers he put up. People accuse Barry Bonds of being a cheater, but he's one of my favorite baseball players and could quite possibly be the greatest baseball player of all time in terms of hitting. And they shortened his career like they did T.O. I mean, even his godfather, Willie Mays, said that Barry Bonds might have had at least 2 or 3 more years of productivity in him. So, as soon as he became the home run king, surpassing the great Hank Aaron, they nobody wanted to sign him. And he still was in good shape, tip-top shape and all that stuff. Like T.O. Look at T.O. today, he can still probably play some football. I mean, keep himself in good shape and stuff like that. But, Barry was close to getting 3,000 hits and 2,000 RBIs. And he already was the home run king, and he could quite possibly been an all-time walk leader. Barry Bonds was about to, take it to the stratosphere, because he said his intention was to wipe Babe Ruth from the record books, and he was making an assault on the record books. And Babe Ruth, I believe, was a left-handed hitter, just like Barry Lamar Bonds was a left-handed hitter. But white supremacy don't play that. They want to call that so-called steroid era of McGuire, Bonds, and Sammy Sosa the asterisk era. Like, what they did during that amazing time does not count. Well, they should put an asterisk by the whole record book, because baseball never been fair. It's never been about fairness in baseball. Well, like I said, when they did not allow the best black players of the generation of Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth to compete with the Ty Cobbs and Babe Ruth, they made themselves illegitimate in terms of being the gatekeepers of the national pastime. But that's how white supremacy, racism works. They want to forget about their past. They want to reimagine the past and mythologize the past and make it a Hollywood productions like A Field of Dreams. You know, they want to forget about all the heartache and trauma that was caused. Think about all the great black players that never got the chance. You know, even in the movie Fences, you had the lead character played by Denzel talking about how he never had the chance to play the baseball he wanted to play because he was denied the chance in his prime to play with the best of the best, regardless of their color. So he's very bitter about, you know, that how the white folks deny him his time when he was in his prime to play baseball with the best of his generation. So that's why he was so hard on his son about playing football for a white college. So that's the thing America don't want to deal with. That's why that character that Denzel played would never win an Academy Award not because he wasn't superb, because he dealt with the raw, unfiltered truth of the dreams that have been deferred by white supremacy for generations and generations of black men. So you look at somebody like Barry Bonds, not only is he hitting for his legacy, not only he's trying to hit home runs for his legacy, but he in the home runs, he carrying the whole, dreams, unfulfilled dreams of great African-American baseball players past. But the thing about Barry Bonds, even before he started hitting all these home runs very late in his career, he was already a first ballot Hall of Fame baseball player. He was already that. Look at his stats. But the thing about it is that thing where it's like a Zach Johnson thing. You too uppity. You too confident. You got too much swagger. When you hit the ball, you got too much swagger. You got too much confidence. We want to cut you down to size. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't necessarily the most reporter-friendly player, but neither was Joe DiMaggio or Ted Williams, and they were first ballot Hall of Famers. They produced on the field. People think that these sports Hall of Fame things are the morality Hall of Fame. If it was the morality Hall of Fame, nobody, living, dead, or alive, nobody will be qualified to be in the morality Hall of Fame. There's a saying that every saint got a past and every sinner got a future. Nobody is qualified to judge anybody on that level. In terms of morality, you got all types of white supremacists, killers, rapists in these Hall of Fames. But you're not judging them on how they lived their life. You judging them on how well they played a certain game. Like OJ, you can't take away his Heisman. You can't take away him becoming the first player in football history to rush for 2,000 yards. He was a phenomenal football player. Regardless of what happened later in life, you can't take away the fact that O.J. Simpson, one of the greatest football players to ever live. Same thing with Ty Cobb. He was a supreme white supremacist. He was a racist, but he was a hell of a baseball player. So he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. But you look at football or baseball, it's a good old boys club. Because a lot of folks that are in these Hall of Fames that don't deserve to be in these Hall of Fames, but it's all political. It's because they know certain people. They got connects. Like, for example, Joe Namath have no business being in the Football Hall of Fame. I don't care about him guaranteeing that Super Bowl win. Look at his stats. They're horrible. They are very horrible. And people will tell me, well, Eli can't be in the Hall of Fame. How the hell Eli can't be in the Hall of Fame? Eli Manning, who defeated the GOAT, Tom Brady. He defeated him twice, including that season when they went undefeated, only to lose the most important game of the season. Eli on that alone should be in the Hall of Fame. What he did was way better than what Joe Namath did. No, but Joe Namath, he had an arm in Alabama and he had all this potential, his damn knees. He didn't take care of himself. That's one thing I give Tom Brady his props. The older Tom Brady got or gets, the better he becomes. Because he take care of himself. Like, he actually went against the system. Like, unorthodox in terms of how to maintain his playing level at a certain level. I applaud him on that. But I'm like Steph Curry White. The whole game is rigged. Everything is rigged. Everything is fixed. It's rigged. I'm like Donald Trump with my jazz hands. It's rigged. Everything's rigged. It's all fixed. Everything's rigged. It's all rigged. Okay? So I said I had to say. I was just playing around. But it's important to note that, Joe Namath have no business. Like, I'm glad that Terrell Davis finally got in the Hall of Fame. You know, like they always see Terrell Davis to me following that Gale Sayers argument. His career was short, but hell, he had an impact. But Terrell Davis had even more of an impact than Gale Sayers did, because Terrell Davis is the reason why John Elway got 2 Super Bowl rings. He was a phenomenal running back. He was a game-changing running back. This guy ran for 2,000 yards. He won 2 Super Bowls back to back. If it wasn't for him, John Elway would not have any Super Bowl rings. He would have been 0 for 5. You talking about Peyton Manning? You know, come on, y'all, get real. So, there's a lot of things to this, man. But T.O., he should have been the first ballot Hall of Famer. Anybody with common sense know that. Look past the man's whatever issues may have, but a lot of this stuff is a vendetta. It's like with Barry Bonds. It's a vendetta. Them writers know that if Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and people like that who perform at the highest of levels are not in their Hall of Fame, your Hall of Fame is illegitimate. Just like with Pete Rose. Pete Rose had more hits than anybody in the history of the game. They call him Charlie Hustle. He has won championships with the Big Red Machine, the legendary Big Red Machine of the 70s. How you going to question his heart? Even when they got rid of Pete Rose, when they banned him from baseball, the team that Lou Piniella won with was a team put together by Pete Rose. So he had an eye for talent. You know, but baseball, a lot of the owners, all of them were known for gambling. All this stuff is connected to organized crime. And organized crime is connected to gambling. It's a no-brainer. I can go back to the Black Sox of 1919. Well, Arnold Rothstein, they say he had a hand in it, the fixer. So even the point shaving scandals of the college basketball back in the 50s, I believe Madison Square Garden, in boxing, come on, we go on and on. All this stuff is fixed on certain levels. I'm not saying that all the players know about it being fixed. It's certain things, there's certain nuances to this thing. It's not all clear to a lot of people, but study the history of this country. That's why baseball is America, because baseball embraces the art of cheating. But you get back to the steroid era, right? You look at Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds with suspicion. But I remember, I ain't gonna never forget this. It's like as clear as day in my mind. When I was a freshman coming into Washington University in St. Louis, that was the same year of the historic home run chase between Mark McGwire, who was playing for the St. Louis Cardinals, and Sammy Slammin' Sosa, when he was, before his Michael Jackson transformation, when he was black, Dominican, whatever you want to call him. When you could tell he was Sermon, all that stuff they were doing. But the St. Louis Post-Dispatch did a story. I believe they interviewed Mark McGwire. And Mark McGwire was honest about the stuff he was taking. He said he was taking androstenedione. That's what he was taking. Because they said, what are you doing? What's your regimen, your exercise regimen? And what are you doing in order to like compete at this high level? He said, well, he's taking androstenedione. Now, androstenedione was not illegal in baseball. I believe it was outlawed at the time. It was illegal to use androstenedione in football and NFL, but baseball had no such rules. So that means Bud Selig, who was also owner in baseball, I believe he owned the Milwaukee Brewers, but also he's the baseball commissioner, they all knew that these players were taking something. All the owners and officials, they looked the other way. And all of a sudden, now it was wrong for what they did. You see several years later, Mark McGwire, he is crying like a big baby before the Congress. And to me, it's funny how Congress, they so serious about this kids game. It's a kids game. That a lot of adults get paid a lot of money to play. But as a kid, it's entertainment. But they're taking it like this is just a national security issue. No, it's not. But you got Mark McGwire crying like a baby before Congress. Oh, I didn't mean to cheat. I didn't mean to do it. But Mark, several years earlier in 98, you admitted to using androstenedione, which was not illegal in baseball, right? Same thing with Barry Bonds. When that Balco thing happened because some disgruntled customer trainer, he whistleblowed and, Barry allegedly did something illegal. But I'm saying, these athletes are using stuff now that the general public and even some people within their industry are not aware of. They're using some type of performance-enhancing drug. I believe Babe Ruth had performance-enhancing drugs back in the day. Hot dogs and root beer. I don't know what he was using. But it was that sometime during his career, he out-hit the whole league. He had more home runs by himself than entire baseball teams. So was they questioning Babe Ruth and how he was getting all these home runs? No, I mean, he just adapted his game. I mean, he changed the way, the game was played. He didn't care about, the high batting averages. He was swinging for the fences. He didn't care about striking out. You got somebody like Ty Cobb, who didn't have that many strikeouts. He was a professor of hitting. He even demonstrated one time how he could adjust his batting technique to match Babe Ruth, and he was able to generate home runs. But he wasn't interested in that. And what I'm saying, all of a sudden, you was a home run king like home run Frank Home Run Baker. He was the king of home run hitters during the dead ball era. I'm getting excited. He was the king of the home run hitters during the dead ball era by basically hitting 11 or 12 home runs a year. If you were hitting 10 home runs back in the 19 teens, it was like hitting 50 home runs, okay? So the game changed, but also didn't have black players playing with white players. So the game, a lot of those numbers are inflated because Joe DiMaggio was asked one time who was the greatest pitcher he ever faced. He said it was Satchel Paige. But when he was asked that question, when he offered that answer, the white press didn't cover that. It was the black press that covered him saying that the greatest pitcher he ever faced was a black man named Satchel Paige. You understand? Like Babe Ruth asked who was the best baseball player in his opinion. And he said, he basically, he asked, well, you mean like white player? He was asking for what you mean by the question, the greatest baseball player. And Babe Ruth said, it was like, I want to say Henry Pop Lloyd. I want to say that was Henry Pop Lloyd. He said that was the greatest baseball player. A lot of these guys, like the Honus Wagners, some of the most revered white baseball players of all time, if you ask them who was the greatest, they will actually say it was a black baseball player named so-and-so or so-and-so. So these are just examples I'm giving. But Barry Bonds should have been the first ballot Hall of Famer. They shortened his career. They made an example of him. He had to go through all this legal loopholes, and they proved nothing. Nothing was proven that he broke any law. They never proved in the court of law that he broke any law. It's all about suspicion. The black boogeyman things. Just like with Jack Johnson, the black boogeyman. He was a black boogeyman. Barry, he loved, his first wife was a white woman. And he was in Pittsburgh. He was a Pittsburgh Pirate. And he was like cocky back then. But he had every right to be cocky because for the longest time, Barry Bonds was, if not the best baseball player, was in the top 3 or 4 or 5 for a long, long time of baseball. He got more MVPs to prove it than anybody in history. Almost won a World Series in 2002. But that preseason, he proved that he was, immortal. He was a baseball god by his preseason number. They didn't lose the World Series because Barry Bonds didn't play well. He played extraordinarily well. It's a team sport. But he eventually won his rings as being a batting coach, I believe, with the San Francisco Giants. They got their little dynasty going. They won a couple of World Series the last couple of years. But, wow, Ron, you all over the place. This is like, for example, let's go to college football. Jim Brown should have been the first African-American to win the Heisman back in 1956. But it went to a guy named Paul Hornung, a golden white boy, kind of like a Christian Laettner of football. He was a golden boy for Notre Dame, which are the football gods. Now I want to read something because the year when Paul Hornung won the Heisman, he had a losing record. His team was 2-8. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish was getting their ass whooped back in '56. They were 2-8, and you had actually 3 other folks who could have won the Heisman, including Jim Brown. I just want to read this because I think it's important. This is one of the biggest snubs in history. It was such a big snub that Dick Schaap, the legendary sports journalist and broadcaster, Dick Schaap actually resigned from the Heisman voting committee in disgust. Now, the Heisman, the first Heisman won by a black player, did go to a fellow Syracuse running back that came after Jim Brown, Ernie Davis. It was a movie called The Express that talked about Ernie Davis. He was the first black player to go number 1 in the NFL draft. Never played a down of football. Got a real rare form of leukemia. Died at the age of 23. So what a loss. But he was a phenomenal football legend. Not only that, he had a lot of character. He had a lot of heart. And they said, people talk to him, talking about Ernie Davis, the people that knew him well, like the Jim Browns and the John Browns, his teammates. They say, he was a great man in terms of his character, of his humanity. So much so that when he won the Heisman, when it was announced in New York, that President JFK, John F. Kennedy, went out his way to meet with Ernie Davis. He was so impressed that he followed his career from day one. He was so impressed with not only his football prowess, but also his character on and off the field, how he handled racism and white supremacy. Even sent him a special telegram when Syracuse University was honoring him. To the town, to send a telegram to Ernie Davis and to Syracuse, talking about how, he won the nation's highest award for a football player, how, the nation is grateful for having an outstanding man and citizen such as himself. I'm just paraphrasing all that. But he won, the Heisman in his senior year back in '61 while he was playing for Syracuse, the same school that Jim Brown is an alum of. And also he wore number 44, the same number that Jim Brown wore at Syracuse. Because Jim Brown actually recruited Ernie Davis, and Ernie Davis ended up recruiting a great running back. I want to say, I think Floyd. It's Floyd Little, Floyd Davis, something like that. Another great running back he recruited. So they had a legacy of great running backs coming through Syracuse, started by Jim Brown. And then number 44 was eventually retired in 2005. So let me read what happened to Jim Brown. You had three other people that were way better than Paul Hornung in 56. This is how white privilege and white supremacy work, y'all. And Paul Hornung, he's an NFL Hall of Fame. He played for the great Vince Lombardi with those great Green Bay Packers team. I'm not saying he's not a pretty good athlete, but he wasn't the best college football player in 1956. I'm gonna read something to help you all understand that. So I got this from NFL.com. It talks about the top 10 biggest Heisman snubs in all of history. And this one is listed as number 2. It said the people that should have won the Heisman could have been either one of these three. Syracuse running back Jim Brown, Tennessee running back Johnny Majors, or Oklahoma halfback Tommy McDonald. This is 1956. It says the winner, Notre Dame quarterback Paul Hornung, and the skinny. Oh wait, what? No, the background story. Majors finished second, McDonald third, and Brown fifth behind Hornung, who had no business winning the award. Hornung is the only Heisman winner to play on a losing team. The Irish were 2-8 that season. He ran for 420 yards and 6 TDs and threw for 917 yards and 3 TDs. He also tossed 13 interceptions. So y'all got that. Meanwhile, Tennessee Majors accounted for 1,001 yards with 12 TDs and just 3 picks for a team that finished 10-1. McDonald, who received the most first place vote, helped Oklahoma University go 10-0 and win the national title. He accounted for 1,318 yards of total offense and 19 TDs. He ran for 853 yards and 12 TDs, caught 4 TD passes, and threw 3 TD passes. Jim Brown and Syracuse went 7-2. He ran for 986 yards and 13 touchdowns, and he also caught a TD pass and threw 1 too. So these are the folks that lost to Paul Hornung, who went 2-8 with the Irish. 2-8. Had a good career, but to me, I don't know if it bothered him on some level that he knew he wasn't the best. It is what it is, but you live in a system of racism, white supremacy. That's what it comes down to. So I guess the white powers that be want T.O. to beg to be in the Hall of Fame. He needs no begging to be in the Hall of Fame, because true fans know that he belongs there, period. Should have been the first ballot, just like with Barry Bonds. First ballot. But, listen to these folks, the voters, talk about how they vote. Who gives them the right to deny people stuff based on, personal stuff? Marvin Harrison, he's in the Hall of Fame. And, Marvin Harrison deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But what about the stuff that happened in Philadelphia? With a brother, he got into it, all of a sudden ends up getting killed. And he said that Marvin Harrison did it, his dying words. I'm not throwing any shade on Marvin Harrison, but Marvin Harrison, they didn't have no problem putting him in the Hall of Fame. And he was a hell of a player. And he was a Syracuse guy, just like Jim Brown and Ernie Davis. But I'm just saying it's kind of interesting how certain people fit the criteria while other folks can't make the cut. No, and everything that involves human beings is political. Like when you decide to get your hamburger, whether from Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's, Backyard Burger, Whataburger, wherever your In-N-Out Burger, where you decide to get a burger is political. Where you decide to go to school is political. Everything that involves choices that affects your quality of life, your standard of living, is political. It's political. There's a reason why there might be more Pittsburgh Steelers in the NFL Hall of Fame than, let's say, Minnesota Vikings, because they won a lot of championships. And that's important, because you could be a good player, but because you was on a championship winning team, you could get the edge over a great player who never won a championship. They might pick you before they pick the other player who might have the stats, might have the individual dominant performances, but they never won a championship. Although it's a team sport, I don't think it's fair that this is what they do. They actually do that type of stuff. I'm sure of it, because you're dealing with human beings, and we as human beings can be very petty. So I can recall, when Michael Irvin finally got into the Hall of Fame. And, Dallas could not win those 3 championships without that three-headed offensive juggernaut of Irvin, Aikman, and Smith. That was like the Dallas Trinity of the 90s. I mean, it's a team sport. You got the great defenses, offensive lines, coaching, all that stuff come into play. But Michael Irvin, yeah, he's supposed to be in the Hall of Fame because he was a part of that. He was an intangible part of that dynasty. And so, it was like they'll keep him out of the Hall of Fame because of his personal behavior, his personal issues, moral issues. This is between him and his God or his maker, whatever you want to call it. It had nothing to do with football. Because whatever he was doing off the field, he was still a great football player. Or a very good football player. He wasn't Jerry Rice. He wasn't no Randy Moss. He wasn't. It was not about talent. He had the will. He had the mindset of a champion, and he performed. He gave it his all. He left it all on the field. But I mean, who's to say? How can you judge some person's heart, their desire? It's like A.L.L. Iverson. There's a lot of people in the media that don't really care for A.L.L. Iverson. Matter of fact, that dress code that the NBA made, Dave Stern couldn't stand A.L.L. Iverson. That dress code was about messing around with A.L.L. Iverson. It was like a form of racial profiling against A.L.L. Iverson. And A.L.L. Iverson, now people are gaining more respect for A.L.L. Iverson after retirement because number one, these documentaries have been coming out that shows the different side of what A.L.L. Iverson had to go through, providing a counter narrative to all the negativity that was around him. Even the thing about the practice coming, the controversial, the infamous practice, and how that was taken out of context. But he's A.L.L. Iverson, and it's interesting. I mean, he had heart. He left it all out on the basketball court. The man had heart. The man lived probably was even 6 feet tall, but man was going against giants, going hard in the paint. You got big guys now. These big men today, they don't even want to go in the paint. They don't want to shoot 3-pointers. This guy was going in the paint against the Shaqs and the no. The Dikembe Mutombos. Those swatters, those hitters. He was going against that. You know what I'm saying? This is before Russell Westbrook or Derrick Rose. The man was putting all there out there. Like he was battling for his life every night. Phenomenal player. Pound for pound, like they said. The best player. In terms of like his stature and all this stuff. Phenomenal athlete. So I could talk about this all night long, but that's not the point. My thing was just to get the conversation started. You know, feel free to comment about what you heard. If you like what you heard, the words from Mr. Heard, feel free to comment. And also, feel free to support the cause. Donate to what we're doing. Because we really try to, push the platform forward. I'm so encouraged by people who meet me in the streets or who send me emails and letters. I don't answer everybody. Phone calls. There's so many people who only one of me. But I'm going to get better at that. And the way I thank you is by continuing to put out more videos and bring on interesting people. Not just only Bob Gregory, but just people. Because we all have an interesting point of view when it comes to living life. And I believe in a time like this, it's a gift to be able to provide a platform where folks who normally don't get heard can be amplified. Their words, their testimony, their struggles, their joys, their triumphs, their tragedies can be amplified and better known by the general public. So I'm very happy and honored and humbled by accepting this responsibility in my own little way to help push a counter narrative to the BS that they've been throwing at us for so many decades. Because like Brother Malcolm said, he said media is the most powerful entity on the planet because it controls and influences the minds of the masses. I'm paraphrasing that. But people say, why is sports so important? Sports is important because it's like a litmus test for what's going on in the world today. Because people love entertainment. People love sports. People say we lost or we won. They're not even on the payroll. Shit, Jerry Jones don't care if he win, lose, or draw. He making money, but he ain't giving you no check for it. He getting the checks. So you're not a Dallas Cowboy unless you're on the payroll, all right? But that's cool. But I understand. I'm a fan myself, but at the same time, I understand that that it's a game and then it's not a game. You know what I'm saying? When we allow people to play games with our life, we get what we deserve. When we don't understand what's at stake and what's at play, we get what we deserve. And it's overwhelming not knowing anything. A lot of us don't know a lot about what's actually going on, but we still overwhelmed. So why not be overwhelmed by knowing what's actually going on? And then once you figure out what's actually going on, you start realizing I might have some options. I might have some choices. And that's really, personally, that's very empowering. But also that's politics. Politics is all about knowing you have choices and options. You have choices and options at play. It might not be, you might not have the best hand, but like in poker, you can still win the game with a losing hand. And really, life is all about losing well. If you know how to lose well, you can live well. You can actually win. Because life is about dealing with losses. And that's why it's so, what I like about sports in a lot of ways, like I love the comeback. I love the underdog. I love the folks who nobody saw coming. I love how people underestimate people. Like with Tom Brady, 6th round, the 199th pick in the draft of 2000. Nobody saw Tom Brady coming. Nobody seen him coming. And look where he's at now. Some almost 17 years later. Look where he's at now. Look where he's at now. Now they saying he's the GOAT. If you wish upon a star. Guy grew up, looking at Joe Montana out in San Francisco. Now he surpassed Joe Montana. And a lot of people don't know that Barry Bonds and Tom Brady come from the same school. They went to the same high school. Not at the same time, but they went to the same high school. They're alums of the same high school out there in California. So They got big balls out there. I guess they produce guys with big balls. They take chances, But thank you all for listening. I think I rambled enough. I mean, I'm all over the place, but you got my idea. T.O. should be in the Hall of Fame. He should have been first ballot Hall of Famer. Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. First ballot Hall of Famer. And one more thing. How in the hell can black people keep on allowing folks who say they superior, but they're not superior, to make you feel like you're inferior? How can you let a guy, a mediocre sports journalist, who probably never played organized sports in their lives, who had all type of privilege, have the right to judge you? And you played at an exceptional level, but yet what they say about you, how they deny you things, should make you feel bad. No, it's a miracle that you accomplish anything in a system of white supremacy racism. Because everything in a system of white supremacy racism is an act of war. It's warfare. And I'm glad that a lot of us have finally seen the light on that. But let me stop. In the words of the great Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing. Peace out, family.